Okay, so yesterday we talked about adding and multiplying decimals. Today we're going to finish our foldable and talk about subtracting and dividing decimals. All right, so on the right side, let's start at the top. Subtracting decimals. Subtracting decimals is almost exactly like adding. You need to make sure that you line up the decimals. Line up the decimals. You must do this. Okay, you must do that. You have to line up the decimals. Okay, so let's line up the decimals. Well, this 8 right here doesn't have a decimal point. So where do I put a decimal point for this 8? Do I put it before or after? Well, if I did it before 0.8, that's 8/10. That's not the same as the whole number 8. So to add a decimal point behind or to a whole number, we add it behind. Okay, so this is like saying 8.0. All right, then I want to subtract 1.65. Okay, line up your decimal points. If you need to add a decimal point, do it behind a whole number, and then you can add as many zeros as you need to. Okay, so then we're going to subtract as with whole numbers, so just like you normally do. You may have to write zeros, which is what we did, as placeholders, and borrow. Remember, when you're subtracting, you have to borrow. Okay, bring down the decimal point, so bring it straight down. All right, now let's subtract like normal. I cannot do 0 minus 5. I can't do that, so I need to borrow. But I can't borrow anything from this 0 because it's 0. There's nothing there. So I'm going to go to the 8, borrow from the 8. That becomes a 7. So now I've got 10. Now I can borrow from the 0. This 10 becomes 9. All right, so now I can do 10 minus 5 is 5, and 9 minus 6 is 3, and 7 minus 1 is 6. Okay, so 6.35. Again, this is review from last year or the year before, but adding and subtracting decimals, you must always line up the decimal points. You can add zeros at the end of numbers. That does not change anything, so you can add as many zeros as you need to, like we did over here and here. Okay? Please don't forget that when you're subtracting, you are going to have to borrow sometimes, so make sure that you borrow as far over as you need to. Okay? Come down here to dividing decimals. Dividing decimals, we use a phrase that we call FISO. Okay, FISO. First in, second out, or you may hear a teacher say FILO, first in, last out. Either or. Okay, so first number, the first number, F for first number goes inside your house. Okay, and the second number goes outside your house, or the last number goes outside your house. So let me write that down. First number inside, second number outside, or first number inside, last number outside. It means the same thing, it's just a different way to say it. FISO, FILO, whichever way your teacher says it. Okay, so it says we need to put the first number inside, so 0.88, and the second number goes outside. All right, I'm going to rewrite this, but I just wanted to draw arrows and show you where it goes. So I've got 1.6 divided by 0.88. Okay. So it says that we need to move the decimal point in the divisor and the dividend. Okay, so the divisor is the 1.6. It's what goes outside. The dividend is the 0.88. That's what's inside. So we're going to have to move the decimal point in the divisor and the dividend until the divisor, the number outside your house, is a whole number. Okay, a whole number. So let's look at this. In order to make 1.6 a whole number, should I move the decimal point to the left or to the right? Well, if I move it to the left, I'm going to get 0.16. Is that a whole number? Nope. If I move it to the right, I get 16. Is that a whole number? Yep. So I'm going to move it one time to the right to make that a whole number, as far right as I can. Now it says that I need to move that to the divisor, move the decimal point in the divisor and the dividend. So what I do outside, I must also do inside. So if I moved it once outside, I'm going to move it one time inside. Okay, so you may hear people say the fox chases the rabbit. Okay, what you do outside, you must also do inside. So if the fox, the decimal point is like your fox. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I think the decimal point is like your rabbit and your fox is chasing it as well. Okay, so the fox chases the rabbit, or what you do outside, you must also do inside. Okay, what you do outside, you must also do inside. So if I moved it once out here, I'm going to move it once inside also. Then I'm going to take my decimal point straight up into my quotient. Okay, so place the decimal point in the quotient above the point in the dividend. Okay, so if I moved it once here, I'm going to take it straight up. I'm going to rewrite so it's not so messy. So now I have 16 and 8.8. Okay, because I moved it once and once, so now my decimal point's in between my 8, so I rewrote it. Okay, then I'm going to divide just like normal. 16 won't go into 0, and it won't go into 8, okay, but it'll go into 88. How many times without going over? Well, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to pick something. 16 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 plus 3 is 96. That's too big. So let's try 16 times 5. 5 times 6 is 30, and 5 times 1 plus 3 is 80. Ooh, 80. So that's as close as I can get without going over. So 5 minus 80. 8 minus 0 is 8, and 8 minus 0 is 0, so 8. Well, I have a remainder, so I need to add a 0 and bring it down. I got to keep going. And 16 goes into 80 5 times. Minus 80 is 0. Now that I have a remainder of 0, I can stop. So my answer will be 0.55. 0.55. Okay, so just as a refresher, when you're adding and subtracting decimals, you must line them up and bring your decimal point straight down. Then just add or subtract like normal. When you're multiplying decimals, and this is from yesterday, when you're multiplying decimals, line them up just like you would when you're multiplying normal numbers. Okay, the second number needs to go as far right as possible. Multiply like normal, and then count how many numbers are behind a decimal point, and that's how many times you move. There were 5 numbers, so I moved 5 times to the left. Always start at the end and move to the left. When you're dividing, FISO or Philo, your first number goes inside your house, your second number goes outside. You need to make this outside number a whole number, so move it as far right as you can, and I needed to do that one time. So 1.6 became 16. And what I do outside, I must also do inside. So if I moved it once out here, I'm going to move it once inside my house. Then I took it straight up. I rewrote it down here, 16 divided by 8.8, because I moved it in between the 8s. Took it straight up, and then I just divided like normal. So FISO, first in, second out, move your decimal point to make your outside number a whole number. What you do outside, you must also do inside. Take your decimal point straight up and then divide like normal. And that's how you divide decimals.